Call this council regular session to order. It's Wednesday, September 7th. Time is 7 p.m. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Play ball. Okay, I'll go ahead and open it up for visitor comments. I thought I seen somebody out there earlier, but they must I'm picking up.
I was looking so mean.
If you'd like to make a comment, is anybody on Zoom?
Yeah, then nobody's raised their hand.
Okay.
Are the people on Zoom?
Okay, I'm gonna do a proclamation. Oregon Directive Support Professional Recognition Week, September 11th through the 17th of 2022. Whereas an estimated 30,000 Oregonians experience intellectual and developmental disabilities and benefit from assistance from others to live rich, fulfilling, and inclusive lives. And whereas approximately 16,000 Oregonians are employed as direct support professionals, DSPs, an essential job that requires a high level of skill, training, and dedication to support people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And whereas DSPs in Oregon promote opportunities for people with disabilities to fully participate as valued members of their communities, enhancing their well-being by supporting people in all aspects of their daily lives. And whereas the DSPs must build close, respectful, and trusted relationships with those whom they work, which requires compassion, empathy, and the highest ethical standards. And whereas DSPs help people manage complex medical and behavioral mental needs, assist people with communication, and provide intimate personal support on a daily basis. And whereas DSPs have worked through some of the most challenging circumstances imaginable, working on the front lines throughout the pandemic, ensuring people's safety during the extreme wildfires, and helping people cope with prolonged power outages during historic ice storms. And whereas there is a critical shortage of DSPs throughout Oregon, and together we are committed to improving wages, benefit, and opportunities for advancements to improve the quality of support, safety, and health of individuals with disabilities. Now therefore, I, Rick Scholl, Mayor of St. Helens, hereby proclaim the week of September 11th through the 17th, 2022 as Oregon Directive Supportive Professional Recognition Week in the city of St. Helens, and encourage all citizens to join me in the important observance. Into witness, wherefore I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the city of St. Helens to be affixed at St. Helens City Hall on this 7th day of September 2022. Okay, let's go into resolutions. Resolution number 1964, a resolution to adopt city council operating rules and procedures for the city of St. Helens, preceding resolution 1837.
I move that we accept resolution number 1964.
Second.
Comment.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Discussion.
I have reservations on the wording, the fact that it contradicts itself and it contradicts part of the charter. Duly, you recommend that the incoming council correct these misguided lines of information.
Okay, any other discussion on it? Okay, there's been a motion made and seconded to approve resolution 1964. Council President Morton.
Aye.
Councilor Topaz.
I
Councilor Berkeley.
Aye.
Councilor Tilton. on Zoom?
And I don't think so, just. Nope.
Okay, and I'm an aye as well. Okay, now we're gonna do a public comment period for the increase in Dropbox rates. Waste Management is constantly trying to basically adjust their rates as inflation grows. So that's what this is about. Is there anybody who'd like to make a public comment on that? It's for the big drop boxes. You can raise your hand on Zoom. And Kathy will acknowledge you. We'll give it just a minute here. Okay. Not seeing any. Resolution 1965, a resolution establishing drop box rates and superseding resolution 1933.
So moved.
I'll second.
Second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to approve resolution 1965. Council President Morton.
Aye.
Council Topaz.
Aye.
Council Berkeley.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. And I just wanted to let people know if they're looking at their agenda about the deliberation on the right of way. That it actually the hearing got canceled, they withdrew, the applicant withdrew. And so it's null and void. I just wanted to give you a heads up on that, if you happen to be watching. Award bid contract 5, award contract for South First Street and Strand Street Road and utility extensions and the First Street and St. Helens Street intersection improvement projects to Moore Excavation Inc. in the amount of $15,600 or 15 million, excuse me, $663,733.45.
Not a typo error.
No.
Sorry.
I second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to award bid contract to Moore Excavation in the amount of $15,663,073.45.
Patrick, did you make the motion that I seconded?
I didn't, I was about to make a motion and I heard a second and I said, did somebody else make
Okay,
it?
you gotta read it again.
So,
All right, so I read it once. Would anybody like to do the award bid contract for Moore?
So moved.
So
Got it.
moved.
Second.
Okay.
So we had Councilor Topaz move it, Doug seconded it.
and
All right.
I was just wondering, yeah,
I just caught the second and I went with it, you guys. I
Okay,
didn't
okay.
call Doug. Because that would have been technically not okay.
boy, that would have,
I was ready to ask.
All right, any discussion on this?
not a discussion, but a comment. My wife and I moved here 30 years ago, and I know some of you have been around a lot longer. And when we moved here, whenever we came down to the riverfront and we looked at the property, the Veneer property, and we looked at this thing, but say my wife, geez, think of what this place could look like in maybe 20 years. Well, it's 30.
Yeah.
And it's happening.
Yeah.
This is an exciting time for our city, and glad that the prior council members, mayors, councilors, administration had the foresight to move ahead on purchasing the property, and we're moving forward. So it was worth the 30-year wait. Maybe another 30 years before it's fully developed. I don't know, but we have begun. We have begun. So that's just my comment.
I'm next,
Yes,
if I could.
yes, go ahead.
When I ran for council 16 years ago, I felt that this city was so wonderful. I'd sail down from Portland and visit the city often. Sometimes on the way to Astoria and back, I'd always stop off here and how beautiful it is, the waterfront. So when I ran for council, my lawn sign says open for the council, and open, I meant for opening up the process, but opening up the land as well. And that riverfront development was something that I spearheaded years ago, with a written testimony that we should look at our waterfront and redo our master plan. Skip Baker took that and says, I'll do it, and we'll do an implementation on it as well. From that was the little ferry system that was a project, kind of it lasted a year or two or whatever. There was signage for the business loop. There were some other kinds of things that I can't really recall what happened at Great Cliff Waterfront Park, but that was wanting to be developed a little more. There were 4 issues in the implementation. One of them was the overlay of the Manier property, and I was elated when that happened. 2 or 3 years later, it would come up for sale. The city purchased it. I was so excited, and Boise Cascade wanted their property for sale. I wasn't so excited about that, but it happened. We got 40 million gallons of water rights a day with that purchase. We got 280 acres. And it just opened the door for everything. So that's where I've been on this ride. It's been wonderful, and to see it come to this point, and it's like remarkable. I mean, it's amazing. So I've always left jobs on a high note, and I couldn't leave on a higher note, especially with the possibility of new council coming in with the same enthusiasm, the same proactiveness that we've had in moving forward and raising the bar, the standard of living in our city to the utmost. I love that. It's been a remarkable ride. I had to follow up what you were saying, and I just wanted to say that. While I had the chance.
Yeah, no, it'll be a great legacy.
It was wonderful.
In the way of business, what's the 45 cents for on that?
Well, we looked at the number,
We want the line item.
what it came down to.
Okay.
Bids are often really close. Sometimes the cents make a difference.
So, what I can say is that, yeah, this has been a long, process, and I was fortunate enough to come in with a lot of work being done already. I helped, pass the actual urban renewal, the funding mechanism for this. And a lot of different meetings and meeting with, other cities and the governor's regional solution team on just the whole scope of work, and we continue to do that and look at that, especially with the industrial property. We'll need some help over there. What a great project. And I do remember when the city rezoned this down here, and Boise was very upset. Was very upset that it got rezoned. And then, but it increased their value of their property quite a bit. So then they kind of, what was her name? Kathy,
Oh, Diane?
or Diane, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to manage the mill down there.
Yes.
Yep. And, so yeah, it's, all this was open when I was a kid. You walk down there and go on property, and there was no liability issues, and it got shut down and slowly taken away. And, it was a good move. It was a good purchase, and, it's a good vision. It's a long-term vision. And, this portion is gonna be a 2-year process, roughly. And then we could have somebody start in 2 years building actual buildings, yes. So, definitely, we got the right team in place to move this thing forward. So. All right, Council President Morton. Yay or nay?
It was moved and seconded.
I'm sorry, man. My mind just went the other way. So yay.
Okay, Councilor Topaz.
Aye.
Councilor Berkeley,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. Approve and authorize for signature 6 settlement agreement and release of all claims with Cascade Holding USE, DBA Cascade Tissue Orton Group. 7, ratify agreement with John Ellis for financial services. 8, amendment number 5 to agreement with Mayor Reed Inc. for design construction and permits for River Rock Project Phase 1 and Columbia View Park Amphitheater additional service signage and graphics. 9, Land and Water Conservation Fund Grant Agreement with River Rock Phase 1 project. And 10, exclusive negotiating agreement with Atkins Dam Inc. for the Millard Road property.
I move that we approve and or authorize for signature items 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
A second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve and authorize for signature 6 through 10. Discussion?
I just wanted to point out number 9, the land conservation grant fund agreement is something you haven't seen in a while. It was a grant that was $500,000 grant that was awarded to the city in 2020, and we're just now getting it through the contracts and the federal process, and this grant, once we accept this grant is going to be amended. $500,000 grant, and there's project escalation costs, and it's going to be almost $1 million grant by the time we get this amended back to you again.
So what you mean is waiting was beneficial.
Wow.
The federal government obviously felt bad about dragging their feet for so long.
So yeah, it's $1 million to waterfront.
Take the money in,
Yeah.
build.
Nothing to just glass over there. It's a very generous offer.
Yep. Good. Okay, so we have a motion that's been made and seconded to approve and authorize signature 6 through 10. Council President.
Aye.
Council Lopez.
Aye.
Council Berkeley.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Okay, consent agenda for approval. Council work session, executive session, public hearings, and regular session minutes dated August 3rd and 17th, 2022.
I move we,
And 12 accounts payable bill list.
okay, I move we approve consent agenda 11 through 12 as read.
Second.
Okay.
Discussion.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve consent agenda 11 through 12. Go ahead, Council President.
Correction on page 167. Under Council Topaz's report, ODOT considers the traffic circle to have 120 degrees with 4 lanes. It should read 120 feet diameter. And further down the line, back to a number having to do with Council Berkeley's report, he made a trip to a 5,000 gallon reservoir in Oak Ridge. It states it should read 500,000 gallons.
Yeah, Mayor, you weren't the only one changing millions, and hundreds of thousands. So.
But he did say that, he just.
He did, yeah,
He didn't say that.
No, he said it correctly.
Oh,
But
I
it didn't
say
get
correct.
recorded.
Oh, whatever.
Can we change that in the record, or does it have to be by verbiage?
So does this go ahead and say that the motion is gonna be to amend the minutes with the recommendations that Councilor Topaz just gave? And so we'll call it for a vote. Council President Morton.
All right,
Council Topaz.
Aye.
Council Berkeley. And I'm an aye as well. Okay, I don't think we had anything from work session. Nope. All right, council reports. Council President Morton.
well, I would like to welcome our 2 new hirees. We've got a code enforcement officer now. Can you say, Kathy, can you say his name by chance?
Yeah, it's Everardo Medina Atrastain.
Everardo Medina Averstein.
Atrastain.
Okay. That's gonna take some time. I get that. Yeah.
We can bring him in and introduce him.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you. He's got some work cut out in our city with some cleanup issues. And I wish him the best. I hope he has the support from staff and possible legal representation as well as he goes about doing his duties. I'd also like to welcome Melissa, is it Faith?
Uh-huh.
And did I read another name to that? Is it Melissa Faith? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And she will overtake, I believe, she'll be involved in parks.
She'll be a rec assistant for the rec program.
Okay, for the rec program.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to welcome them aboard and it's always exciting to welcome new employees to our staff. So welcome. Quite an important meeting on Monday at 4 p.m. with the Parks Commission to talk specifically about policy and how we go about working through that policy and that's hopefully becomes more effective, more transparent, and more accountable. And I think that's a conversation that many of our commissions should have of how all of this should work. And so we'll be talking about that. I've invited our Public Works director to be available if possible and listen to that, as well as I'm inviting all committee people to share in this discussion that we'll be having. I think that's enough for now, but I'm really happy about our code enforcement hire and looking forward to cleaning up some irresponsible kinds of messes that some of our citizens, maybe not all fault of themselves, have in their surroundings and in their environment for their living conditions. So anyway, thank you.
Doug, a question on the cleanup. We had somebody describing a neighbor. Are there any volunteer groups that could help people who are not old or if they're too old to really do the job themselves?
Community action team, for one, could be a resource, I would think. Any other individuals who are neighbors and concerned individuals of that area can always help with a cleanup. However, there are safety issues involved. One is needles and hazmat kinds of things, but I know that the Public Works people were called upon to do the cleanup and they out and out refused unless they had hazmat kinds of equipment to accomplish the task. Some of the things are from, some of those issues stem from meth labs and those kinds of problems that sometimes evolve from messes and places that need cleaned up. So it's good to screen all of that, get our code enforcement person to make a call if they need help, and make certain that we go through a policy that is the city is not vulnerable on our decision for cleaning the place or the resident or the business, commercial site, whatever, cleaning it up.
I know some of those, we'll call them industrial hazards, are as bad as the needles with some of these things, right?
Good point.
So there are volunteer groups out there, and of course, it also comes down to the landowner. You know,
agreed.
and so you can be trespassing on somebody's property and have to do the process like we have to go through.
Well, the thought was if the person allowed it or asked, is there any person they could ask? Some of the people obviously aren't going to let you even touch a blade of grass on their property. So it's a complex problem, but the question is, are there groups that could help if we were asked there?
Go ahead and segue into your report.
Okay, I have a number of things. I'm gonna push for a forensic audit for the last 5 years because of the financial things that have transpired recently. I've had, changing subjects, I've had a conversation with two people. One is a water specialist on Zoe's Island, and they are trying to get a water analysis of the Multnomah Channel to see if they should be using the water for irrigation. And this is where we get our water with our 40 million gallons a day. The question, which is strange, is they have the water analysis in the Willamette River where it enters the Multnomah Channel. They have it in the Columbia River, but so far the state has never documented what's in the Multnomah Channel. I know that that's fishing. They check the fish out and they've not gotten an answer. Just a highlight. I talked to a geologist who's been involved in the nuclear waste in the US, and he knows the geology under a lagoon. And he said, be careful of that. One of the things that he's worried about, he says, my time schedule is in thousands of years. And he's looked very carefully at what could happen to that, not in the near future, but in the long future. Or he's, as he says, his future. Okay. Talking to the school, and this has to do with the police. They reminded me that the school has turned or has budgeted money for the police for school security, which we're short of manpower, so that's not happening. From the library, I found that the late fees somehow got not routed to the library, but to the general fund. And library is wondering if that's getting corrected. I think Suzanne has been talking to you.
We don't collect fees anymore, and they were always directed to the general.
We got changed in this interim. You're right, what we do now, but before that, there was a change.
I'm not aware, I remember every time I paid a fine when I first started paying fines for my late folks, I said, oh, at least it'll go to help buy new books or something. They said, no, it goes into the general fund. It was not designated. So my understanding, library fines were always put into the.
There's a confusion on that.
Well, we have our own financial director.
Yeah.
Well, again, that's somehow between those two, that should be looked into. Okay. We have a new 3D machine in the makerspace. The old machine, you would see lines in the product. It was basically a melt and deposit. This is a fluid we're using UV curing. The parts are much better, and that arrived yesterday. They're already happy with that. This Friday, the application for the youth librarian closes. They have a large number of people who have signed up. Some people are just not qualified. They don't have the required degrees. There are some people first blush are high on the list, but at least we have, I think, over 20. The library had a scavenger hunt with the middle school. Had a number of students, I guess up to 70 students. That was a big hit with getting students into the library, just to get them in the library. The other thing that's happened, the library has passed out 82 free covered sets for testing. And there are more there. That's what I have.
Berkeley.
Thank you. I had forgotten, I'm glad you mentioned the makerspace. I went in last week, Thursday, to one of the open hours to find out how to get some tips on how to do a project. Alan there was very helpful, but when I came in, he was speaking with Sarah Burns, who has been hired to put the Maker Lab or Fab Lab together for PCC at their OMIC center. And it was really neat that OMIC, which has received this national, regional and national attention, sending their person to our little makerspace to get some guidance and thoughts on how to establish their bigger space. So it's great news, and it's also great that I think that will continue to develop partnerships with OMIC, that even though they're there in Scappoose, we're in a great place to leverage relationships and development for things here in St. Helens.
One more thing on that, Alan's actually gone over there and given some course.
Yes, he's also been teaching, so yeah, so it's a great,
Really connected well.
yeah, great relationship there. Let's see, September is National Preparedness Month. If you want information about emergency preparedness, you can find a lot of information at ready.gov. And as part of, and I've become a real believer, I've been a real believer in that, but especially since taking my community emergency response team training. Just the great work that they do, and encourage folks that even if you don't go through this kind of training, be prepared. Have some water and stuff, a plan in place for whatever may arise. September 15th through October 15th, Hispanic Heritage Month, celebration of all Hispanic heritage, which embraces numerous cultures, and many of our workers and residents are of Hispanic descent in our communities. So just like to acknowledge and recognize that. And that's pretty much it. Excited for the beginning of the school year. The middle school and senior high school students, Kathy's daughter, Lisa's daughter. Sorry, Kathy. Your son is still, yeah, he's beyond, beyond that. But anyway, Lisa's daughter getting started there, but the elementary schools, we've been having a chance to meet with families prior to our first day of school on Friday, and we're looking for a great year. So, all right.
Yeah. Don't have a lot to report, but we have the Rip City Rally. You know, they're circuiting. They're actually going to 5 different areas. They'll be in McMinnville, September 12th, Tillamook, September 13th, Astoria, September 14th, St. Helens, September 15th, and then Vancouver, September 16th. At our McCormick Park, and I do believe, I'll have to put in their email, but I think the events start at noon, I do believe.
4 to 6.
3 to 4?
In the park. Yes.
Okay,
During
so
the schools during the day.
I'm gonna trust John, 4 to 6, because I just went to my joke section. And so that's always, you know, it's good, the amount of use of that playground over there, and we gotta see it with our citizens day in the park firsthand. Is you go over there, probably even still right now before dusk, and there's people out there playing. This waterfront project's huge. A lot of people talking about it in the community. I think we need to put out, we'll do a public hearing on it soon. As far as just informational of how it's going to go. I don't think we should be leading it. I think staff should be leading it, but I think that needs to happen sooner than later. Because everybody's excited.
Internally, we're discussing the rollouts and
Good.
engaging with the local businesses.
Yeah,
That
yeah, so. Go ahead.
Does this look like I was gonna say?
Yeah, it does.
I was sitting there, something else. Anyway, I was gonna add to that it was a good move way back when we decided to put the walkway in along the riverfront. What a great marketing tool that was for our community. It just allowed people to get and see that beautiful scenery, the ambience of all of that, and the possibilities of what can happen.
And turn the fence down and clean up landscaping.
Exactly.
And so you can see in there. Yeah, it's really come a long ways. you know, we look at the city and what we've done with this, even the wayfinding, was a huge improvement. The Parks and Trails Master Plan, you know, all our committees have been rocking it. They really have. And, you know, the planning commission, doesn't get near enough recognition, but they've been proactive and really looking and, helping us move things along. Yeah, so, yeah, it's a good time. It's really neat to have this funding going into, you know, we leveraged it and, utilizing that urban renewal to move this project forward. And, again, you know, just getting the information out there to let people know it's only gonna be phase one, you know, of the boardwalk and stage placement.
Let's start.
Yes, yes, and we're going to 90% of the civil side of things, and why we're not doing we're doing one side but not the other.
And I think one of the most important things that our citizens, that I'd like to remind our citizens of our initial goal set was sustainability of that area. Whatever we do there should sustain.
Right.
And it should be a three-legged stool that we looked at in terms of the environment being taken care of and enhanced, commercial and residential.
Yeah.
Those three, that's the three-legged stool that should be sustainable in that area. Once we do it, it's going to identify our city for a long, long time.
I don't think it would be a bad idea to meet with the board PUD and maybe with our council, just kind of. Just let them know, you know, pick their brain, let them know that we got all these, they do know we have it, but just to revisit that. PUD is instrumental in our undergrounding here, you know, they've helped us a lot looking at that. Yeah, so, just because you never know where your help's gonna come from, you know. So I think that would be something we could do as a council sometime down the road. I don't know what that looks like, John, but I think it should happen.
They're
Yes,
value partners. in all
yes,
of this.
yes. And that could be a public meeting, but, of course, but, I don't know, you know, I think it would be just more of a tabletop discussion and, just moving forward, you know, because it's gonna draw some attention once we start getting some machinery down here. So, that's all I have to report. Fishing, sturgeon fishing is open Saturday, retention. You have to measure them from the nose to the fork of the tail, 44 inches to 50 inches is 6 inches for keepers. So with people luck, it was supposed to be a salmon derby this Saturday, but we got closed down. Cause there's only 30,000 salmon going over the dam a day. I guess it's not enough. Not being sarcastic there.
Was that
Not a safe one.
a food bank?
Yes, it was a good day, salmon derby, yes, again, yeah, I should have plugged that too, it's a good cause. For the food bank, and they're actually doing a little, get together after later in the evening too, so. Yep, so I got.